So Michael Moore took a very Trumpian line in an interview on the issue of the press. Here's what he said. If you allow rich corporations to buy up and control most of the media and then put things on the media that are intended to appeal to the stupidity that's in all of us, you will have a dumbed down nation. He continued, the more you dumb down, the more likely you are to end up with a Donald Trump. Now, let me just clarify something real quick. I said it was a Trumpian criticism. Perhaps that's not the best way to frame it. But point is, Michael Moore is saying, to an extent, fake news. He's saying that the media is terrible, and there are some people who hear this and they will immediately say, oh, that's the exact same criticism, and so Michael Moore is being exactly like Donald Trump. And I'm curious what you guys think about that. Do you think that a left-wing criticism of the mainstream media is equal to a right-wing criticism of the mainstream media? Because that's what the mainstream media would have people believe.
Can I take this real quick? So I think that his criticism is pretty different from Trump's criticism regarding fake news. I don't think that he's saying fake news here. I think what he's saying is that the media hasn't done a good job providing detailed information to its viewers or readers so they can really understand what's going on and what the priorities should be as Americans who take part in a democratic process. So for instance, the first thing that came to mind was when that Malaysian airplane went missing and CNN covered that and that only for I don't even know how long. It was weeks. Where's the plane? Where's the plane? Where's the plane? Nonstop. It was as if nothing else was happening in the country. And so if you're, let's say, a working class American in the middle of the country, you just lost your manufacturing job or you just lost your coal mining job and you're really struggling economically, and that's the kind of crap you see in the media. First, it's gonna lead to widespread distrust of the media. And more importantly, it does dumb people down. And dumb isn't even the right word. It makes people ignorant to the reality facing the country right now. And so I think he's absolutely right. I think that it's led to uninformed voters, and more importantly, people feeling left behind or neglected by the very journalists who are supposed to provide a voice for them.
Yeah. Trump is totally self-serving when it comes to using fake news. And it's almost like sad in how obvious it is that he's self-serving, and he only says it when it's a story that makes him look bad. That's when he screams fake news. When it's positive news, he once literally said that about the polls on him. He basically said, hey, all the polls that show me with good numbers are good polls, and the ones that show me with bad numbers are fake news, and they're bad polls. And I'm serious.
It's amazing. It's amazing that he says those things, and his supporters are like, "Yep, he's right. That's right."
What we have here is basically a far-right criticism from Trump of the media that makes absolutely no sense. But we have to remember that basically the godfather of intelligent media critique, mainstream media critique, is Noam Chomsky.
Yep.
And he wrote the book Manufacturing Consent. And basically, the point is, hey, corporate media, these are elites, and they're gonna reflect the worldview of the elites, of the ruling class. And oftentimes what you see is corporate media toes the line of the US government more so than state media even does in certain places with state media. So I think it's really important to point out that there is a giant difference there. And I also just wanna point out, I think liberals should avoid falling into a trap here, because there is a trap set up where when Trump screams fake news, oftentimes the instinct is to say, no, there is no fake news, and the media didn't do anything wrong ever, and let's defend the mainstream media. And it's no, what you should do is be nuanced about it and say there's a left critique of mainstream media that makes perfect sense, and Trump's critique of mainstream media makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, so let me break down that down just a little bit further. So on the right wing, apparently they believe that the Washington Post, New York Times, et cetera, they get in a room and they go, all right, what story should we make up today? I mean, that's insanity, that's lunacy. No one does that. Now, if you said they're in a room and they have groupthink and they all think very similar things, and that is, if you're the right wing, you say they have a liberal point of view. I don't agree with you, at least half don't agree with you. But I understand that, that's a legitimate point of view. It's not crazy to think that. We think they have a corporate and establishment point of view, and that's a perfectly normal thing to think as well. But if you think they get in a room and just make up stories, you're nuts. You belong in an insane asylum. And then unfortunately, that is now the majority of Republicans because they follow their dear orange leader, okay? Now, if you want to know what they actually are motivated by, look at their incentives. So let's use logic here. So for the mainstream media, what are they mainly incentivized to? Well, they're mostly giant corporate media outlets. And so, and that is the core of what Michael Moore said. And that is, of course, right. Sometimes when I talk to reporters, they'll say, oh, that sounds conspiratorial, like the right wing. Wait a minute, but they are multi-billion-dollar corporations. That's a fact. How could that be conspiratorial? Are you saying that they're not multi-billion-dollar corporations? Because that sounds like a weird conspiracy theory, right? And are you saying that the second part is that multi-billion-dollar corporations are not interested in profit and hence don't care about ratings, don't care about maintaining the status quo, et cetera? That sounds weird and conspiratorial. It almost sounds, that sounds Trumpian. No, the corporations got together and decided they don't care about profit and they're just gonna give you the best possible news, okay? Now, so it's also a little naive. Now, hence, what is the bias that is created by that? It is a bias in favor of the status quo. If you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you don't wanna rock the boat because it's your boat, okay? So, and the main way they do that is not in a smoke-filled room. It comes from the top down. It's in who they choose to hire. They're not gonna hire Jimmy Dore for CNN. It's just not gonna do it, okay? They're not gonna hire a radical in any way, shape, or form, or anywhere near radical. They're gonna hire Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer because they know they are not going to rock the boat. They're going to do exactly what is the status quo. It's because it's pre-built in. They're already in favor of what we consider the establishment and what they consider, to be fair to them, the norm. They're like, what do you mean? Of course we're in favor of bipartisan agreement on things like trade, where the corporations write the trade deals and we all follow along. And the rich get tax cuts and corporations like us get tax cuts, of course. They don't mean it in any malicious way, but they were hired to maintain that status quo.
I think you're being unfair to Wolf Blitzer. I mean, he is really known to rock the boat.
Has there ever been anyone who has rocked the boat less than Wolf Blitzer? And then, and if you're wondering, so let's just last two examples of CNN and Fox News. So why does CNN cover that plane missing story for so long? Because you look at it from the perspective of, wait, they're in the news business, there's so much other news, why aren't they covering it? They don't look at it from that point of view at all. They look at it from, and I know because I worked on cable news, quarterly hour ratings. That is what everybody inside the building is obsessed with. Hey, we talked about the plane, people are interested in that quarter hour did great. Then we turned around and talked about the tax cuts. The ratings went down a little bit. We went back and talked about the plane, the ratings went back up. So they say, you know what? Since the ratings are up, just keep talking about the plane until the ratings go down. We don't care what's in the news, what's important. That is for you to care about if you are a journalist or you're someone who's obsessed with the news. We are a corporation. We will maximize ratings, which will maximize profits. And Fox News' version of that is, why are they obsessed with Berkeley? It makes it sound like Berkeley runs the country. They do nonstop stories about, oh, this leftist person at Berkeley, irrelevant student at Berkeley, or the war on Christmas. None of that is in the news. And they created that. Why? Because for them, the culture wars bring in ratings. So they also don't care about the news. They care about what's gonna get ratings for me. Angry white men are gonna get ratings for me. So I'm gonna scare the bejesus out of them and make them really angry. And that's how our media runs. And so Michael Moore saying that is the tip of the iceberg. It's an excellent point, he's absolutely right. But you should read Chomsky and find out what's actually happening. And one last thing that I gotta give Michael Moore credit for, he correctly assessed that Donald Trump would win. Obviously I was in a similar boat, not exactly the same, but we were both concerned about populism, the rise of populism, and how the Democrats were presenting the establishment and the elite through Hillary Clinton. But he points out 2/3 of eligible voters in America are now women, people of color, and young adults. And if you guys show up to vote, it's over for the Republican Party. And I agree. Again, I think Michael Moore and me and only a couple other people are on this same side. Now everybody's like, no, Democrats aren't gonna win, numbers aren't real, polls aren't real, everything is magic. No, they're not magic. He said, quote, these are the last days of the dying dinosaur, the old white man who has been making the decisions since the beginning of our time. he's right. The reason why they're turning to fascism, the reason why they're so concerned about demographics and protecting the culture is because they have lost. And Donald Trump was the last gasp of the angry white man. And so I think Moore is exactly right about that too. And there's about 2 weeks left. So now Trump is still gonna be in office, but the Democrats will very likely capture the House. Then he's in a world of trouble. For the rest of the time, it's tick, 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 tick for the Republican Party. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.